This is a case study on organizational power and politics. This is for Foundation of Leadership at UC Irvine. Voice of Ramin Ershadi is going to be the only voice on this presentation. Summary of the case study: there's a debate or a disagreement between a department chair and a tenured professor at a university. The debate or the argument is over instituting a behavior guideline, policies that affects the professor because he's trying to use a graduate or he has been using a graduate assistant to grade exams. There is a department meeting that's called to come to an agreement on this particular guideline. However, there's no consensus reached because there was no agreement between the various parties in that meeting. So a battle ensues between the professor and the department chair over this upcoming policy. We'll see the use of power and influence in this presentation. There's some meanings and definitions of power, politics, and influence that's obtained from the textbook. Covering the questions. Question number 1, what source of power does Helen have? That's part A. Helen has position power, which stems from the university and is instated in her title of department chair. Part B, what type of power is she using? She's using legitimate power, which again is power given to her by the university, carried in her title. Which influence tactic is Helen using during this meeting? That's question number C. She's using consultation tactic during that meeting because she's asking the opinion of the various members of her staff to try to come to essentially a vote to put in place her policy. Part D is negotiation, or Part E, exchange tactic appropriate for this situation. The negotiation tactic, I believe, would be the best approach to persuade the faculty. It's a good way to team up people and try to get a majority vote or unanimous vote, hopefully, for her to get the policies that she wants instated. However, Part E, if that falls, the negotiation falls through, she can resort to an exchange tactic, which then she could offer some bonuses or some other persuasion for the faculty to come into some agreement with her so she can institute her policies. Question number 2, Part A, what source of power does Jose have? Well, Jose is not a manager, so he has to use his personal power. Part B, what type of power is he using during the meeting? I believe that he's using expert power during the meeting because he is using a lot of his knowledge and he seems to have a lot of ideas available to him. For instance, that how other parts of the university are using the same type of graduate assistants for grading the exams, and also other universities have the same amenities available to the professors. And he also says that his exams are very objective, so he's basically trying to come across as someone that knows what he's talking about in order to persuade his colleagues. Part D is what influencing tactics is Jose using using with the memo. I believe he's using a coalition influencing tactic because he's inviting his colleagues to join in with him into an agreement so that they could oppose the policy to be put in place. Part E is the memo a wise political move for Jose, what he might gain or lose by this. I believe that it's not a good political move for him. However, if he does win, he gets his way. He gets to keep his graduate assistant and still have his exams graded by someone else rather than himself. He could also have a better influence over his colleagues, and he may also have a better rapport with the dean and the VP and the president of the university. However, if he does lose this, and in addition loses the appeal to the people that he's threatening that he'll appeal to the dean and senior management of the university, not only he's going to be potentially in trouble with his boss for quite some time after this loss, but he also could lose face with not only his colleagues but also the senior staff of the university or the senior management, and that could lead him to maybe be forced to leave the university because of discomfort, so on and so forth, and it might end up with a lot of wasted energy. Question number 3, what would you do if you were Helen? Part A, would you talk to the dean letting her know that Jose said he would appeal the policy decision? I would definitely seek the advice of the dean because the dean has been there for a longer duration and is more aware of what the rights are and possibly give some really good advice as to what would be the best move. Of course, I wouldn't ask the dean to make the decision for me, but at least to inform me as to what are the best paths to go forward in order to do what is right for the university and for the department. Part B of the question, which influencing tactic would this discussion involve? I think it would be a combination of consultation and coalition tactics. And consultation, obviously, because she's getting answers in terms of advice as to what to do. And the coalition tactic is to get partnership with or better rapport with the dean, so that at least they would be in a better standing if worst case scenario, if the appeal is taken to the higher management. Part C of the question, which political behavior would the discussion represent? I think that would be co-optation, which means that you want to have people on your side rather than competing with you, especially in political situations. Part D, would you draft a policy directly stating that graduate assistants cannot be used to grade objective exams? It really depends on a couple of different things. One is, what is the true definition? It's not very clear in this presentation, or I'm sorry, in this case, whether a graduate assistant is a TA or a GA, even though it's a graduate assistant that's called out, but there's more definition of what it is. In source number 3, which is from Brown University, a TA is, as part of their duties, they do grade exams instead of the professor. And there's also a reference from the HR, there's an HR company in Illinois, which also handles jobs for academics, and their definition of a GA does not include grading exams. So it really depends on what the true meaning of this the title is. Whether if it's a TA, then one way or another I can decide which may be applicable. The next thing I would want to consider is what is the best interest for the university and for the students in terms of, would they learn, would they have a better experience if the professor grades the exams rather than somebody else? And last but not least, would there be further political fallout because of this action? Meaning, is there going to be a lot of wasted time and energy and hard feelings and so on and so forth that could get in the way of better education for the students and atmosphere of the university? Or it's better to just set the differences aside and see what's really the best approach to move forward without getting into these entanglements. And by that I mean that whether the policies should really be instituted or allow freedom for the professors to do as they will, or if that's really not the best case, then this would be a battle worth fighting. And last but not least, would your answer to D be influenced by your answer to A? Well, it depends on what the recommendations or consultation with the dean provides, and that could be if it's convincing, if it's in agreement with what the department chair is in line with and purposes to have instated in her department, then of course that would weigh in and influence the final decision. And of course, contrary to that, if Helen is not in agreement with the information that's presented by the dean, then she can make her own decision and move forward with that. The unfortunate presentation, I would most important. I would say what's most important is what is in the best interest of the students and the university. Again, I talked a little bit about wasted energy and conflict. If it can be avoided, I think that would serve everyone the best. It would create a less hostile environment. It would create more of a nourishing and camaraderie, which is not always available, but I think it's better to resolve issues in a more friendly manner than through pressing personal agendas. However, if there are ethical reasons for the GA not to grade the exams, then by all means Helen would have to press her agenda and institute the policies so that she can create a better environment and a better educational environment for the students. Thank you.